You know what's so beautiful about the Zoom room is that everyone pops in at once. It's like the doors open and the party is here. We'll give just a minute for a couple others to join. Connect.
And I just want to add a plus 100 to what Ashlyn just said. Y'all couldn't see us on the back end, but we were looking through all of the names that were already in the waiting room. We're like, all of our friends are here. You see Jim, Casey, John, Natasha, Gina. We're like, the whole crew is here.
Yes. Great to see you, Jim. Love the heart, Natasha. Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to our meeting. Let's go to the next slide. Smile, you're on camera. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded. You all should be familiar with this slide, but just a little bit of housekeeping. If you could please update your Zoom name to include your organization, would really appreciate it. Also, go ahead and put in the chat, what is your favorite spring activity? You know, I've been having to really think about this one. I normally really love spring, but my allergies, you all, have been horrible. I'm about to buy stock in Zyrtec. I'm like, this is out of control. Let's see what some of the responses are. Alexis loves everything. Ooh, sandals, yes. Hiking, paddleboarding. Okay, John. Hiking in the great outdoors. Teodra says nasal rinse, taking allergy pills, warmth, NBA playoffs. Are we all enjoying that? And Casey, I have 3 under 5, so sleeping. I feel that. All right. As we've already demonstrated, go ahead and feel free to use the chat. Next slide. Okay, so these are the group norms that we developed together in our first meeting. So just a reminder of them. Safety to ask questions. We're going to really strive for clear and easy to understand information. Let's have room for fun. I love the handshake in the upper corner of this slide. It is demonstrating fun to me, the active handshake. Let's strive for mutual understanding and to give one another the benefit of the doubt. A willingness to share our experiences with the group. The more we share, the better we become. Openness. We're not going to avoid conversations. We're striving for learning, not judging. We're going to make intentional space to connect with each other. That we strive for a supportive, safe, and honest experience about the differences and the difference of interests in the participants in the room, right? Difference is not a bad thing. Striving for mutual trust and collaborating. So a gentle reminder to update your Zoom names. Although I'm looking, I mean, you all are amazing. They're almost all updated. Fantastic. Next slide. Assumptions about who is here today. First, that you represent a California-based organization that is in San Joaquin and or Stanislaus counties, that your organization is interested in or is currently providing CalAIM services pertaining to ECM or community supports, that you have registered. Thank you for registering. And as we always say, most importantly, that this is really about improving the lives of Medi-Cal beneficiaries and collaborating with each other to really achieve the goals of CalAIM. Next slide. So here's what success looks like for today. First, we're going to do a recap on what we've achieved over the last 3 months, which is a lot. I mean, you all have worked really hard and done some incredible things. So we're going to recap that and celebrate it. We're also going to go towards solutioning. So we've spent the last few months on identifying what the problems are that we're experiencing. And now we're going to shift into problem solving. Okay. And we're going to each self-select an issue area that your organization will prioritize. So we're going to walk out today with some action items. And third, we're getting together in person. Yes, I cannot wait to see all your beautiful faces in person. And yes, there will be food and coffee. All right, so today's agenda. Our first part is going to be a recap. We expect that'll take about 15 minutes. As usual, we're going to spend the majority of our time in small groups, really diving into implementation and work plans. And then finally, we'll spend a few minutes talking about our in-person gathering. Next slide. All right, we all ready for recap? Fired up? Okay. So during our sessions 1, 2, and 3, we worked on a vision for what we want to achieve by the end of this collaboration, being really clear about what success looks like and what our North Star is. To develop a strategy for how an aim statement will guide our work. A project charter, a driver diagram, a change package, and measurement strategy. And finally, a timeline and facilitation work plan. And I think really what's central to all of this is intentionality. We have spent considerable time with each other, being really intentional about understanding what the barriers are, what the breakthroughs need to be, and now we're gonna work towards solutioning those. Next slide. All right. Who has joined these meetings? Who has helped with all these incredible things we've achieved over the last 3 months? You can see a whole slide of them here. I would love if I could call on somebody to read out just some of the names of these organizations. Let's get someone else's voice in the mix. I wonder, Eliana, can I call on you?
Hi, good afternoon. Yes, so let me call off a few here. So Turning Point Community Programs, Kaiser Permanente, San Joaquin Health, Manifest Medics, Dignity Health St. Joseph's, HealthNet, of course, Mastercare, Mom's Meals, Emcara Health, and EA Family Services, just
Excellent.
to call out a few.
Yes. So why don't you all go ahead and pick out your favorite emoji to celebrate all the people and organizations that have showed up so far. Yes. Ooh, the sunglasses. We got lots of party emojis and claps. Excellent. Ooh, a coffee cup. That's a new one. What is this, Davion? Is this a dragon? Oh, that's a new one too. That's great. Okay, next slide. So here's what we've named for each other around the needs. First, the triple redundancy. So identifying that there's really a correlation between the sustainability of programs in the long term and needing improvements across referrals, authorizations, and claims. I hear that the triple redundancy, that coinage of the term has really caught on, and that this is something that the state is really listening to, is this issue of the triple redundancy. The second, rate viability, that we want to identify solutions such as recontracting to rate deficits. Some providers will not reach sustainability through referral capacity alone because the rates are at a deficit. Return on investment. Unlocking that they need to see the value in becoming a provider. So making sure that this is a sound business plan, and also clearly understanding how it aligns with mission, and also financial costing to determine if contracting is viable. You'll see in one of the later points, one of the quotes is, we plan a party, we spend resources on a party, but then if people don't show up, we're in real trouble. So making sure that it's viable, that it's in alignment with mission, and seeing the value in becoming a provider. Hub models. This is about the sum being greater than its parts. Financial hubs, setting up a system where indirect contracting would support CBOs that are smaller or have less capacity, right? So this really opens up opportunities and opens up doors. And a community hub, We need trusted messengers. We need people from the community who are really educating each other about CalAIM and the opportunities, right? And advocacy. So I'm gonna read this one because this one's pretty long to summarize. So CPI has presented an incredible opportunity to engage key stakeholders and advocate for the systems change participants correlate to CalAIM's long-term viability. We are well positioned to focus on immediate change efforts, and we can concurrently, while focusing on immediate change efforts, we can also chronicle and discuss solutions to broader needs that will work to improve CalAIM implementation. Okay, so this is both about thinking about short-term and also longer-term system changes. A couple ideas are a local needs assessment that would inform contracting strategies and also data collection processes that would improve how beneficiaries are identified for services. Next slide. We've heard a lot about having an intentional equity lens, that smaller organizations that have really deeply embedded roots in local communities have minimal contracting knowledge and lower capacity, right? Smaller budgets, smaller teams, and that we should be explicit about uplifting emerging organizations from communities of color and communities that have been harmed by inequitable policies. Again, naming that referral capacity alone is not going to result in sustainability, right? Because of the return rate. So there's an opportunity. An opportunity exists to validate how upfront funding and sustainable rates will be key to fulfilling these smaller organizations, making the decision to contract and the ability to really sustain programming. Transparent needs assessment. Participants have experienced difficulty with understanding whether they're meeting the needs of local populations and find it difficult to conduct local assessments that determine the needs of population, what service gaps exist. And specifically, it's not just about having a contract, it's knowing that we're meeting the needs of local groups, right? So this goes back to our real gravity for being in this space is making sure that beneficiaries are having the best experience possible. Outreach. Participants have identified a strong need to inform more beneficiaries of CalAIM in order to increase the utilization of ECM and CS services. The quote, "We threw a party and then no one came," right? So we're burning through grant money to run a program that we will have to shut down if no one comes, okay? And upfront funding. Smaller CBOs that have deeply embedded roots within local communities have minimal contracting knowledge and low capacity. Participants have shared we should be explicit about uplifting emerging organizations from communities of color and communities that have been harmed by inequitable policies. And again, some providers will not reach sustainability through referral capacity alone. So really what this is lifting up is we need to have, there needs to be multiple solutions. We know that these are layered problems with complexity and with nuance, and we need to have solutions that also recognize that. Okay.
And I just want to hop in really fast. Hey, everyone. Ashlyn, thank you so much. We really wanted to, going back to this celebratory just energy that Ashlyn was bringing up when we were covering the slide that displayed who's been participating in these sessions thus far. There's so much appreciation that we as facilitators have for every single stakeholder that's in this room right now. Over the past few months, the first quarter of this work, it really centered being able to understand what your CalAIM experience is and how that experience translates and flows over into the beneficiary experience, right? And so as a result of all of those conversations, as a result of the sessions, meeting with plans, one-on-ones with the participants themselves, we received hundreds of conversation points and we're really able to refine, aggregate, refine into these categories that you have uplifted and translate those into the distinct goals of this collaborative that Ashlyn will get into on the next slide. And so I just really have to triple down on the fact that this information, although it's in the synthesized state, was directly from you. And that is just so amazing how much you have committed to and given to this collaborative in order for these pain points and issues to be unveiled. Because as Ashlyn mentioned, CalAIM is challenging and it's multifaceted and it's not linear. And so being able to process with you for this first quarter of work to unveil these challenges, so now we can make this transition to work planning, to solutioning, to implementation and testing, we would not have been able to do this without you. So I just have to triple down on the congratulatory tone and celebrating all this information and all of these data points that we've been able to collect, because now we can get to work. So yeah, just wanted to like really hone in on that. And I'm super excited. Yeah, just to hear Ashlyn go over the goals for the collaborative and how we're going to make this transition.
Thank you, Alexis. All right, on that note, let's move to goals. Okay, so we've identified 2 goals that we have received your feedback on. We'll talk more about that in the next slide. Goal number 1 is for contracted organizations and stakeholders that work with contracted organizations, okay? So by December 31st of 2023, contracted providers and organizations that work with contracted entities participating in the San Joaquin and Stanislaus Collaborative will work to advance the sustainability of CS and ECM programs by adopting improvements that address the triple redundancy, administrative and procedural issues embedded within the referrals, authorizations, and claims processes that will result in 75% of committed participants implementing at least one key action to improve CalAIM implementation. Okay. And I'm going to ask somebody else to read it again because it's a lot. So I wonder, Gina, can I get you to read goal number 1?
Absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Oh, okay. I'm having some trouble with my audio and visual and everything. So, okay, goal number 1 for contracted organizations and stakeholders that work with contracted orgs. Was this the area where we're at? Just making sure.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. By December 31st of 2023, contracted providers and organizations that work with contracted entities participating in the San Joaquin and Stanislaus Collaborative will work to advance the sustainability of customer CS and ECM programs by adopting improvements that address the triple redundancy, administrative and procedural issues embedded within the referrals, authorizations, and claims processes that will result in 75% of committed participants implementing at least one key action to improve CalAIM implementation.
Thank you, Gina. Appreciate you.
Of course.
All right, goal number 2, which is for organizations that are seeking a CalAIM contract, are not currently in contracting. By December 31st of 2023, 75% of uncontracted organizations, eligible ECM and CS providers participating in the San Joaquin and Stanislaus Collaborative will have advanced at least one stage in the contracting process. That one's a little bit simpler, so I don't think we need to read that one twice. Okay, next slide. So this is really important. This collaborative is very much about the perspective each of you brings to the room. You have the expertise, you have the experience, you have the stories. And so it's really critical that what you see in the feedback, the statement of needs, the goals, et cetera, is really a representation of what you have said. Really important that you see yourself in the goal. And so sent them out in order to get your feedback to make sure it's on the right track. So for the implementation group, which was goal number 1 that we read twice, 90% greatly agree with this goal, 10% are neutral, and no one disagreed. Okay. For the uncontracted group, 71% greatly or somewhat agreed with this goal, and 28% were neutral. So this is something that we'll want to look at more when we split up into the two small groups. The uncontracted group will want to make sure that this goal really is in the right place before we really drill down into the work plan, particularly because 28% as neutral is a pretty high number. So we just want to make sure that that it's representative of what you all have named. All right, next slide. Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Teodros to do the next couple slides.
Okay, thank you, Ashlyn. So we're just going over goals for the implementation group and uncontracted group. Let's take a moment to understand, you know, at least for the implementation group, what the goal is, how it's defined, what are the priorities in terms of being able to make that goal happen, what's the outcome that we're looking for, and what's the intended impact from that. So for contracted organizations and stakeholders that work with contracted orgs, we're looking for, by December 31st of 2023, contracted providers and organizations that work with contracted entities participating in the San Joaquin and Stanislaus Collaborative, that they'll work to advance the sustainability of community supports and enhanced care management programs by adopting improvements that address the triple redundancy, again, referring to the administrative and procedural issues regarding referrals, authorizations, and claim processes that will result in 75% of committed participants implementing at least one key action to improve CalAIM implementation. So what are our priorities to make that happen, right? One, having an improved referrals process, okay? Making sure that we're improving the processes for authorizations, that we're improving the processes for claims, and also for rate negotiations. And the outcome that we're looking for from doing that is to streamline delivery and drive utilization, thereby advancing the sustainability of community supports and enhanced care management programs, and improving CalAIM program implementation. And what we're hoping for in terms of the impact of being able to accomplish that is to improve the care Medi-Cal beneficiaries receive. Next slide. So for the implementation group, in more detail, how will we achieve this and what's our timeline? Well, we've just been through phase one, right? Which has all been about conceptualizing and problem identification, right? And thinking. So problem investigation, developing shared goals, determining the change needed, and designing measures. And now in this month of May, we're beginning phase two. So we are moving from identification of the problem now into action, now into finding solutions. So data collection and analysis. And that means adopting an improvement area, doing reverse engineering, identifying process gaps, and doing our homework, which is, again, finding solutions and baselines. And for the rest of the year, what the timeline looks like is we have phase three beginning in June, okay, where we will focus on solutioning and process recommendations, process adoption, PDSA. And then we've got from July to December, phase four, which is going to be testing and implementation. So monitoring, progress measuring, chronicling best practices, barrier busting, and making systems recommendations. Next slide, please.
And I just wanted to hop in really fast before Ashlyn covers the breakdown of the goal and how that addresses issues for the uncontracted group. I just wanted to uplift really quickly this barrier busting. Something that's been very prominent about the San Joaquin Stanislaus Collaborative is that you have called for action. Like something that was very specific was that participants, stakeholders, providers, plans, like no one wants to be stagnant. No one wants to have a year of conversations about what the issues are. Everyone wants to be able to progress to this implementation and testing phase. However, we also want to be very conscious about the fact that there are unforeseen barriers that we might experience. So we were very intentional about including barrier busting as a part of our activities, right? So when we encounter an issue, we are going to work together as a collaborative for us to break through those barriers. And so I just once again want to call out being hyper responsive to what you have said you want, like as a part of this collaborative. And so that was something that was just very important to us, to make sure that no one feels left behind, that we are operating at the speed, of the collaborative and not the other way around, you all waiting for us or pushing us along, just making sure that we're being super hyper responsive and that we're not allowing anyone to stagnate, because we want to make sure that we're breaking through the issues and barriers that everyone experiences or anyone experiences as we make this transition to implementation.
Thank you, Alexis. It almost sounds like a chant. Like when we're together in person, it's gonna be like 1, 2, 3, barrier busting.
Or my barrier busting t-shirt. Barrier busting. You know what, Ashley, you just gave me an idea. I might give everyone stickers, okay? Look for the name tags, y'all.
Have a hashtag.
Have some barrier busting name tags. Oh my gosh.
Great. Whenever we're ready, we can go ahead to the next slide. Ooh, stickers. That's a good idea. Okay, so same process around looking at the goal, the priorities, the outcome, and the impact for goal number 2, which is for organizations seeking a CalAIM contract that by December 31st of 23, 75% of uncontracted organizations eligible enhanced care management and community support providers participating in the San Joaquin and Stanislaus Collaborative will have advanced at least one stage in the contracting process. So the priorities to making that happen, looking at return on investment, the equity lens, provider education to making sure that people know the steps, and also upfront funding. The outcome, that more providers advance at least one stage in the CalAIM contracting process, and the impact being that we've expanded the provider network and care services available to Medi-Cal beneficiaries. Redundancy busters. Yes, that's great. Okay, next slide. All right, so timeline for how we're gonna do this in group, the uncontracted group. So ours is a little bit different. Instead of phases, we're in quarters. So we've completed quarter 1, congratulations, which very much like group 1 is about problem investigation, developing shared goals, determining the change that's needed, and designing measures, how we know we've succeeded. We're now entering quarter 2, which is about adopting a test of change. Today, we're going to look at baselining, adopting a strategy, and then looking at a plan of action to make it happen. Quarter 3, we're going to be identifying themes. 1, 2, 3, barrier busting, issues for return on investment, equity, provider education, and funding, and specifically upfront funding. And finally, in quarter 4, looking and reflecting on what have we learned about best practices around monitoring, progress measuring. We're going to chronicle those best practices and then making system recommendations. Next slide. Okay. Part 2. We have completed the first part of the meeting, you all. We are now in part 2, where instead of hearing me talk, you all get to hear each other talk and riff, which I'm sure you're excited for. So here's what we're going to be discussing. The implementation group, goal number 1 group. You're going to be launching into phase 2 of the work plan and data analysis by reverse engineering existing processes in order to identify gaps. Okay. At the end of it, that's going to look like adopting an improvement area, again, reverse engineering, identifying process gaps, and there's going to be some homework, y'all, because we're serious about making progress. That's why. All right, for the uncontracted group, we are going to start today diving into the work plan by completing a readiness assessment that gauges where you currently are in the contracting process and what areas of support you need. So we're going to baseline, we're going to adopt a strategy, and then we're going to create a plan for action. So breakout room A is the implementation work group. So it's those who already have contracts with CalAIM. Breakout room B is for folks who do not yet have contracts, but want to. And want to lift up that it is very likely that there are questions, feedback, curiosities that have emerged from the slides that we've shared so far, and want to make space for those conversations in the breakout rooms, okay? But thought we might be able to dive more deeply into it and hear more people's voices by doing that in the breakout rooms. So I believe we're going to have about 48 minutes. Is that right? In the breakout rooms?
Approximately.
Okay. Give or take. And enjoy. We'll see you back in the main room soon.
All right, and everyone should see the breakout rooms on their screen right now. And if you have any questions just regarding which room you should be in, please let us know. Once again, breakout room A is going to be the implementation room. Breakout room B is going to be the uncontracted room. We just want to make sure that no person is left behind. So I'll actually stick behind this time just to make sure that we have everyone in a breakout room.
Looks like so far. Deborah, if you look at the bottom of your screen where it says participants, chat, share screen, there should be an icon that says breakout rooms. And if you click on that, it should give you the option to join implementation or uncontracted.
Got it. Thank you.
Or and if Alexis, in uncontracted, if we finish a little bit earlier, I'll just have people get ready on homework, get started on homework.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure, because I see it's surprisingly leaning heavy implementation today. Very heavy.
Very heavy implementation. Yep. Okay.
All right. All right, everyone is coming back over. And Shiva, if you could do us a huge favor, because yeah, our conversations did go over in the breakout room. Let's go ahead and just skip ahead to our in-person session, just so we could hear some reflections there. Yeah, we can, yeah, there we go. Yeah, this is perfect. Right here is great. All right, and let's see, is there anyone that's still in breakout? I think we're good.
Great. All right, so we're going to be together Thursday, June 1st. Looks like maybe from this meme, we're going to have a dance off. So I hope you all come ready to share your moves. The purpose of our time together will be designing approaches to test and implement our solutions. As we all reiterated in the small breakout rooms. Yes, 1, 2, 3, barrier busting, exactly. We're going to be ready to do our chant, designing approaches to really implement our solutions, and forming committees to steer our work. We're all in this work to see progress and to see change made. And that is really what we're going to be designing at our time together on June 1st. Alexis, there's a question here in the chat around timing, if we know the hours yet.
Yeah, so Casey, we are going to send out a planning survey. I know that everyone responded to the initial planning survey just to hear like venues and dates that were available. So we're really good there, but we are going to send out something subsequent for how many hours we want to spend together, your dietary needs and restrictions, so on and so forth. So we'll make sure that we get that out along in that post-event email. You didn't jump ahead. Come on now. It is time for you to read my mind. That's what's going on. That's what's going on
All of you belongs here.
And we'll make sure to have our barrier busting t-shirts available as well.
Yes. At least stickers. And here's the venues that you all have recommended: the Veterans Office on Coffee Road, SJC, BHRS, the Health Plan of San Joaquin, and San Joaquin Agricultural Commission. Next slide.
And actually, Ashlyn, let's pause here for just a quick second. I just wanted to ask, are there any other venues that the group would like to put forward? Do you have any specific goals? Like, I know that we're making this major shift and that we are going to be, you know, processing all of the information that was discussed today, scheduling those one-on-ones, really trying to break down where the issues exist within those, you know, the triple redundancy. But is there anything else specifically that you want to make sure you walk out of the June session having had accomplished, right? And so, like, in addition to venues, just, is there anything that you could uplift that you might want to make sure that comes out of that next session? It's kind of building upon what Nye called out earlier, just making sure that we don't lose this momentum, because everyone's been so contributive to this collaborative.
Okay. So there may not be more feedback right now, but is there going to be another opportunity to give feedback?
I would say definitely using that survey. And I would also say, I think that's the first time I've ever posed a question to this collaborative and didn't receive a response. So I think that I'm also going to take some of that as these like purposes landing, because once again, it was just reflective of the feedback that we received from you all.
Can we get an emoji? How are you feeling about the purposes stated and potential venues?
All eyes on Casey for what emoji he's going to.
The pressure is on.
And Davion has another animal. It's an ant this time.
That's great.
Yeah, so everyone can drop their emoji.
Yeah, ants, good. So the theme is going to be teamwork. Ants get amazing things done. You know?
They
Okay.
get a lot done, and not a single one of them is very strong.
Yes. There we go. All right. I think we can go to the next slide then. All right. So next steps. We've already made clear we're going to be in person together next month. Really looking forward to that. Please make sure you use the link that will be in the follow-up email to register, so we have the right head count. We also want to hear any dietary restrictions so that we are sure to feed you well. As a reminder, we're all going to do some homework for the implementation group, completing the baselining survey that you received via email, and developing 3 recommendations for solutions that we'll then discuss at the in-person session together. For the uncontracted group, we're going to create the plan portion of the PDSA template to determine what the test is that your organization wants to adopt. And that template is going to be provided via email. As a reminder, slides, supplemental materials, and a shared project folder will be provided via email. So we've been referencing a lot of these documents we've been using, the AIM statement, the driver diagram, how we're measuring our success, et cetera. Those are going to be shared at a one-stop shop in this shared folder, so you can access it really easily. If you have any questions, please contact the amazing Shiva from Health Begins, and he will be sure to help you. And as always, please spread the word and invite others to join. I know we had a new person in our small group today who contributed so much to the conversation. And so, yeah, don't be shy about inviting others in. Next slide. Here is some information for you about the cited round 2 application, which is opened, and that there's upcoming webinars and virtual office hours. So this is a great place to get support and assistance. Next slide. Last but not least, thank you, Health Begins team. You are phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. The care that you show for this work and the incredible way that you listen and take leadership from the people doing the work. And the Gashow Group appreciates you and really appreciate the privilege of being with you all on this journey. Until next month, we will see you all then. Bye, everyone.
Everyone.